So I talked about the experience I had when I came to the center for the first time. And I had written a letter to Guru. And it was a couple of months before I got an answer from Guru, and Guru was accepting me. And, but as I said, at that time, you used to be able to come to the center even before you'd been accepted as a disciple. So I was regularly going to the center in London, although I was born in what's known as the West Midlands, the middle of England, slightly to the west. And so I would travel, 2 hours on the train, and I would go there whenever I tried to go there every week. Well, I had just basically heard that Guru had accepted me, and then I was invited to a joy day. At that time, we used to have joy days basically with the Scottish disciples and the English disciples. And then we had heard that the mother had died at the Sri Aurobindo ashram. And so that Guru and Allah were going to be going for the service there to India. And then they would pass through London on the way back. On the flight to New York, they would have a layover for a few hours. And so we would, we also gathered, we had this joy day, and at one point in this joy day, the plan was that we would all go out to the airport to meet Guru and see Guru. And I had borrowed my parents' car. Well, our little joy day function at that time went a little bit too late. And so it was kind of like a crazy rush. And it was hard to take public transportation to get out to the airport for most of the people. So the idea was that we would try to drive people out there. But at that time, there weren't enough vehicles. But there was one van that had been provided by the New Yorkers for the incense business that we were trying to set up in London. And so we had one extra vehicle, but it didn't have any petrol in it. And so rather than kind of go all the way to the petrol station with a can, one of the London disciples said to me well, we could siphon some fuel out of your car and put it into the van, and then drive that and fill up, and then pick people up and drive them to the airport. So I said, okay, great. So me and this other disciple, we got a piece of rubber tubing, and we started to try to siphon stuff out of the thing, but we weren't very good at it. We were amateurs. So ultimately, we ended up sucking in a lot of fuels from the car. But then we got it going, and everything went out thing. But so that me and him were going out then to the airport to see Guru. And this was the first time. I had only been a disciple maybe 2 or 3 months. It's the first time I'm seeing Guru. I had become a disciple when I was 19. I had just had my 20th birthday. So I was very young physically, but also very young as a disciple. So anyway, I started to feel really intoxicated from this petrol, from this benzene. But anyway, so we were driving out there, and I was getting really, really nervous. When we got there, we parked the car, and this disciple boy said to me, I said, listen, man, I don't feel really good, I mean, I could taste it in my mouth and all this stuff and everything. So he said, okay, so he had an idea. So first we went into a shop, and we bought some chocolate. And he said, if we eat the chocolate, it'll take the taste away. So we ate the chocolate. And then we went to see Guru and Ola as they arrived, and they had to transfer to a different terminal to get a flight to New York. And so, as I said, Guru had a couple of hours layover. So we went to the second terminal where Guru was supposed to leave from to go to New York. And he said, I asked if we could find a place somewhere in the terminal that was quiet and large enough for everyone to be there. So ultimately we did upstairs. We found a place upstairs. And then it was quite a big space. And so Guru said, first of all, Guru said, okay, boys, come and stand in a circle. So we stood in a circle with Guru in the middle of it. And as I said, I was feeling really weird, I was totally intoxicated with stuff. I was almost stoned, And so it's really, really strange. So we were all supposed to stand with our hands folded and look towards Guru, And I noticed that the idea was that Guru was kind of basically going around and focusing on every disciple that was facing him. And I was so freaked out by this whole thing that I couldn't look at Guru. I dropped my head down like this kind of thing and closed my eyes. And I'm there and I'm like really kind of very nervous and very kind of, upset, like this kind of thing. And then suddenly I feel this warm light inside my heart. And it slowly spread out into my whole body. And it was like this kind of exercise that you do when you're in like a yoga class or something, And so it was really, and then I felt totally calm. And this little voice inside my head said, okay, now look at your Guru. So I brought my head up, opened my eyes, and there was Guru directly looking at me, from me, And the first thing that I felt was, this is my Guru. If my Guru can do this to me, this is my Guru forever. And so that was my first experience really seeing Guru in person. As I said, like obviously the earlier one with going to the center and seeing the Transcendental was the start of it. And it's like then that was confirming everything for me. So anyway, in London, I eventually moved to London. At that time I was still living up, as I said, up in the Midlands. And I eventually moved to London and we had a boys' house. So I lived in a boys' house and there was one disciple. What had happened was there was this idea to produce Gurus like little like pamphlets and things about Guru and especially posters and stuff like that, but we didn't have anything to do it. And what actually happened was that I'd mentioned how my friend had gone to see Mahavishnu, the Mahavishnu orchid and everything, and Mahavishnu had a son called Mahadeva in London who'd come and visit. And he often would come and visit the London Centre, take us out to dinner, to Indian meal or something like that, So anyway, it was an idea and he put up the money and we bought a very small printing press. And then one disciple from New York came and taught to one of the disciples how to print. It was a very small press, but because it was really funny, it was a small press, but because it was donated, the money was donated by Mahavishnu, it was called Maha Press, which obviously that means big press. So that was kind of like a funny thing as well. But I was very fortunate that eventually that after a period of time, I actually lived in this boys' house. The press moved actually to the shed in the garden of this boys' house, and the printer lived there. And so I learned to print on this press with this other boy, and little did I know that in the end, that later on, many years later, that I would be a printer in Agni Press in New York, printing Guru's books and being totally really involved in printing Guru's words. So it was kind of like, again, I saw how you're constantly evolving. Our Guru's like, without you even reading, without you even becoming conscious of it, but you surrender to one thing and then Guru starts you on this journey. For me, in the same way it was when I had this spiritual experience that ultimately brought me to the path. You start with some experience and then it constantly evolves, and then you become quite efficient at learning something about the path and about the way Guru evolves. So that was kind of like really, really special for me, and it was something that really, as a very young disciple and a new disciple, it really was very, very special to me. And one of the things was that I don't know why, but when I was when I first moved to London, I used to do this thing where after my meditation every morning, I used to sing this one song one of Guru's songs that really, really was special to me. And it was this song, Father, Son, oh Supreme, Supreme, my Father, and so I sang that every single morning for the first year I lived in London. And again, that inspired me, so in a sense, I kind of, if I have one recommendation, okay, we know we have the songs that we normally sing, the invocation and so on, in the morning after meditation. But I think it's nice if you find one song that you really like, to add that to your kind of morning, edition of songs that you do, the one that really inspires you, and it's really, really special.